To God, all things are good and just. To humanity, some things are just, and some unjust. Everybody's got opinions. I've got opinions. You've got opinions. Onions. But for the most part, I like to be a pretty relaxed guy. I take deep breaths. I prefer gentle colors and the autumn breeze. When I have a free Saturday afternoon to myself, I usually just sit back, relax, and listen to human voices recite the Tao Te Ching. But I have two opinions where I have to draw the line. And because of my life experience, I'm not willing to negotiate about another point of view. The first opinion is that the following 8 furniture conglomerates must be forcibly dissolved, which shouldn't come as a surprise. But the second opinion I hold is that radically embracing forgiveness is powerful, beautiful, underrated, and almost necessary for an ideal human life. I talked about this a little bit in a video I made about The Last of Us a long time ago. Basically, because of my life experience, temperament, and choices, I've come to see forgiveness almost the same way we see sleep, namely, as a necessary retreat and reprieve from the turmoils of life. Without the rejuvenating power of forgiveness, I personally don't see how I could function in a healthy way. I could go on about this for the rest of the afternoon, but I can't learn anything by just indulging what I already think. So today, we're going to break down 3 different approaches in favor of or against forgiveness, as exemplified by the 3 God of War Ragnarök characters, Thrud, Freya, and Sindri. By trying to learn from their struggles in the game, hopefully I can look outside of myself and gain a new perspective. Maybe you guys will get something out of it too. And who knows, maybe by the end of this, I'll have opened my heart and will be willing to consider being spiteful. The first character who struggles with forgiveness is Thrud. In the first Norse God of War game, Atreus learned about his ability to be ruthless and heartless, indulging his power to end the life of another person.
He should pay for what he said about Mother.
Together, he and his father defeat Magni and Modi and show no mercy to them. Thrud was their sister.
Whoa!
Loki, right? Gotta say, the irony of this isn't lost on me. This was his room, you know?
His?
My brother's.
Your brother?
Modi?
Ah, your brother. Really? I had no idea.
Uh-huh. And now it's yours. Enjoy. Thrudthorstdottir.
Okay, well that was easy. Thrud easily embraces the popular forgiveness philosophy, let bygones travel under the bridge. The next character whose loved one was killed by the Of Wars is Freya. In the first game, her son Balder was killed in the finale, and Freya finds herself to be disagreeable to this outcome. Very disagreeable. But Freya is one of the wisest characters in God of War, and she can tell that she shares a common enemy with Kratos. She doesn't let her emotions prevent her from properly seeing or imagining how her feelings fit into the larger social picture, making her less impulsive than, say, Ellie was lots of the time.
Maybe. For the moment. You're of more use to me. Alive.
This is the first thing that I like about forgiveness. It's efficient and useful. In life, we all have values and goals, and pursuing them can be a joyful and fulfilling thing to do. When, not if, but when someone mistreats us, we often feel compelled to spend energy looking for revenge, or at least seething in frustration. While this is more than understandable and maybe even cathartic. It can distract us from what we'd actually like to choose for ourselves if we had the chance. But this isn't a groundbreaking surprise or anything. The fact is that sometimes it's just unrealistic to expect ourselves to ignore the gathering clouds of anger. The thirst for revenge is an emotional and not a logical problem, so we can't just think our way out of it unless it's already kind of a minor issue. Freya suppresses her desire to hurt Kratos, but not her anger itself. Because of her wisdom and strength as a person, she keeps her larger goals in mind and orients and focuses that anger to serve her own will to try to address those goals, rather than trying, probably in vain, to erase that anger before it's properly run its course. Now, in this case, her larger goals are also about vengeance. Odin had magically bound Freya to Midgard, and we understand that she has divorced him. He's probably wronged her significantly in the past. She still wants revenge for the death of her son, but she's basically willing to conceive of Odin, rather than Kratos, as the person who is ultimately responsible for it. But before she can even consider the choice between revenge and forgiveness, she has to actually free herself from the spell that Odin cast to keep her bound to Midgard. This illustrates an important caveat or requirement for forgiveness. While the transgressor might, ideally, be forgiven eventually, the physical and emotional safety of the person being wronged is the first priority, and it's only once you have gained a certain distance from the transgression that the time and energy to consider forgiveness is even available. If somebody stole from me, let's say they stole my copy of Tony Hawk, I would want to be compensated, and or I would want to prevent the rascal from stealing from anybody else in the future, say by cutting off their hands, or however you had to do it. But once I've been compensated, once I've been able to sufficiently stand up for myself or defend myself, or enough time has passed, continuing to harbor anger is only going to weigh me down and burden me, and it's in my own interest to try to free myself of these bonds. Maybe instead of jail time, thieves should have to pay large fines or do hard labor to earn the money to pay those fines, with part of those proceeds going to the victim, rather than making thieves suffer and be lonely somewhere to no benefit of anyone at the expense of taxpayers. The only reason we like this situation is because we have this sense of divine vengefulness in our worldview that, in my opinion, we should heal from. Such a process takes time. Freya is able to forgive Kratos, but only because she manages to transfer her anger about her son's death to Odin.
You are not the one who needs to die. I do see that.
Probably it also helped that Kratos gave her a nice apology. So, she's still motivated by vengeance. It's just that she's being reasonable about it and not pushing away potential allies when she doesn't have to. This is something that the progressive people should have done over the previous decade. And maybe it's not too late to follow her example. But for a guy like me, who is a forgiveness radical, and, if possible, would like to see even Odin forgiven, we seem to be out of luck. Freya is dead set on getting vengeance against Odin. I mean, even in the final battle, she's still saying stuff like this.
Odin will not get away.
If he does, so help me.
And throughout the whole game, she's just surrounded by people who are also angry at Odin and talking shit about him, almost like an echo chamber. So how is she going to be expected to heal from this without bloodshed? Well, the way it plays out, she actually kind of does get to indulge her vengeance a little bit. It's just that the way it happens is in order to dignify her first and denigrate Odin second.
I realize there's only one thing I need you to know. You have no hold on me anymore!
She finally releases herself fully from the bonds of her negative relationship with Odin. Because she got to validate herself in that way, she got to prove to everyone that Odin no longer had any power against her. She draws again from her great wisdom and her chill, rather than her anger, when she finally does have the opportunity to exact the vengeance she has craved for so long. In one of the final cutscenes, Kratos takes Odin's soul from Atreus, and he gives it to Freya, who, after a meaningful and cathartic moment with herself, says,
I have waited so long for this moment. And now that I'm here,
And now it's yours. Enjoy.
So even though they got there by different paths, Freya and Thrud kind of gained the same outlook on forgiveness in the end. And they're both going to see the bottom of a bridge. And so they all lived happily ever after. Okay. Somebody, oh, and he took the Ring of Power with him too. Somebody must have woken up on the wrong side of Hobbiton. Guess we know which one of the 7 dwarves got a cameo in this game. I'm messing around. Sindri is in pain because the loss of his brother is far too fresh for him to have had the time to go through all of the healing that Freya managed to accomplish in the game. Her story is a redemptive and admirable one, but like I said in the Last of Us video from so long ago, sometimes the emotional and social resources to learn the strength for forgiveness are just circumstantially unavailable to people, which makes it kind of harder. I can't blame Sindri for his outburst, even though I find it to be regrettable. The only way I think you could maybe try to fault Sindri here, if that's really where you want it to go, is by considering that throughout God of War Ragnarok, Sindri's story has been about his inability to let go, the way Freya did, and specifically his inability to let go of his brother, who, as we learn, was supposed to have died long ago. But Sindri revived him in an imperfect state of blueness, and then didn't tell him, and that's just unacceptable. Sindri should have had the strength to admit his mistake and apologize to his brother, who, as we see, is more than happy to forgive him.
I know what you've done, and I forgive you.
But this small man was too fragile and too protective of his immediate comfort to open up the possibility of a world without Brock, which I agree is a sad world indeed, but when reality finally hits, the stubborn dwarf is repulsed by it, like a rebounding hammer having struck an anvil with immense force that reverberates in the arm of the blacksmith. But if forgiveness is about not passing judgments on transgressions, then we should also not pass judgment on our own transgressions, of sometimes not being able to muster the strength for forgiveness. Everyone's been in a spot where we have the time and the support to temper our anger through a journey of growth. But equally, we also find ourselves in situations where we become overwhelmed and our patience is tested in a much stronger way. Personally, I seek the path of the mindful turtle from Kung Fu Panda with the funny name that starts with Oog, who merely gives a gentle smile to even the strangest of surprises and misfortunes. But to achieve the aged reptile's wisdom, we must allow for moments of tumultuousness and respect our animalistic drives even if we do attempt to control them in the end. Long live the mindful path of the slow-breathing tortoise. And make sure to subscribe for more videos about media arts and life's conundrums. Check out the links below, check out my Patreon, and be sure to forgive the people who voted for the wrong yuppie.